Thank you. Mr. Cooper, you got it?
Almost. I'm just double checking my list.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'll show you which one do I have. I've got Mendez, Allen, Benedict, Porterfield, Roten, Sledge, Suara, Syracuse, and Toombs.
Ruffle and Glover are both on that list too.
Okay, thank you.
I think we got everybody else though. So that's a total of 2.
At 11.
All right. 11. All right. I'll read the motion we need to get going and somebody can make it. Pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 regarding electronic meetings as extended by Executive Orders number 34 and 51, I make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Everybody take your WebEx hand down before we get going, please. And we'll head into the agenda. Resolution RS 2020-450, Druffel, Mendez, and others approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and Metro Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at Post Road.
So,
Chair. Mr. Druffel, are you going to withdraw?
Yeah, I move to defer to get another meeting. Public Works continues to add some improvements in costs, and still we're waiting for those.
So you're moving to defer one meeting?
Correct.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion about the motion to defer one meeting? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to defer, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we move to defer one meeting. Recommend deferral. Next, RS 2020-481, Mendez, Rosenberg, and others approves a grant from the Tennessee Division of Elections to the Davidson County Election Commission to provide assistance to county election commissions to prevent and respond to the coronavirus during the 2020 election cycle. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing nobody's hand up in WebEx. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. RS 2020-482, Mendez, Hager, and others. Approves an application for an Our Town grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to the Metro Arts Commission to create a series of temporary and permanent public art works that will increase public safety, provide much needed employment opportunities and job training, and will be co-designed by the North Nashville neighborhood community. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Seeing nobody's hand up. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. RS 2020-483, Mendez, Hager, and others approves a grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission to the Metro Commission for general operating support to expand, improve, and develop the arts in Tennessee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We recommend approval. RS
Aye.
Yes. Resolution RS 2020-484, Mendez authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Augustine Collier against the Metro government in the amount of $1,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been
Second.
moved and seconded. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wondered, we had 3 of these this time, all of them car accidents, and for whatever reason, this one had no disciplinary action or remedial training, and I just wondered if someone from Parks could speak to why nothing was done.
Somebody here for that? Mr. Cooper?
This is Rick Taylor with Metro Parks.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Council Lady Allen, this accident that occurred, the driver is a first-time offense, and there's a little exigent circumstance here with the accident. He actually had the green arrow being left onto Charlotte off of 28th and 31st connector, and an oncoming car came and ran the red light. So in an attempt to avoid a worse accident, he veered slightly more to his left to avoid the wreck, and part of his truck did strike a sitting vehicle at that light. So yeah, probably not maintaining the lane, but it was one of those odd situations where it was kind of unavoidable.
Thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anybody else? All right. We're on 4. It's been moved and seconded. No other discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Resolution RS 2020-486, Mendez, Welsh, and others approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide oral disease prevention services for school children in grades K through 8 in qualifying public schools. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. RS 2020-487, sponsor Mendez, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle a personal injury claim of Robert Geiger against the Metro government in the amount of $13,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Resolution RS 2020-488, sponsors Mendez and Pulley, approves an emergency management performance grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Office of Emergency Management to subsidize the emergency management program. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Resolution RS 2020-490, sponsor Mendez, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Mr. or Miss Akasumi against the Metro government in the amount of $14,100. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we approve. And I would politely ask Mr. Cooper to maybe give the Vice Mayor a phonetic pronunciation of that for tomorrow. That name is tough.
Will do.
Next is Resolution RS 2020-491, sponsors Mendez and Pulley, approves an Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant from the United States Department of Justice to the Metro Nashville Police Department for specialized training and equipment to ensure personnel maintain needed certifications for criminal investigation and crime reduction initiatives. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Next is Resolution RS 2020-492, Mendez, Polly, and others. Approves a DNA capacity enhancement for backlog reduction grant from the United States Department of Justice to the Metro Nashville Police Department. Outsource sexual assault kits to private vendors for forensic case sample analysis to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the forensic biology unit. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Resolution RS 2020-493, sponsors Mendez, Henderson, and others, approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to Metro Public Works to conduct a comprehensive litter awareness and reduction campaign involving various community partners and a roundtable of government agencies. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Allen, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question about how the funds are divvied up between education and actually litter pickup. Is there someone from, I guess, Public Works that could address that?
Anybody on for that from Public Works?
Ms. Stone? I can take this up in Public Works if it doesn't get answered here.
Ms. Stone, are you with us?
I am. I believe Sharon Smith is on this call, and she would probably be the best equipped to answer that. Sharon, are you on here?
Yes, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties here. So this is not the regular litter grant that is split between the Sheriff's Office and Public Works. This is a special litter grant. All of the money came to Public Works, and all of it is being used for litter prevention, education, in a variety of things, including promoting our Adopt a Street program.
Berkeley, you're
Got it wrong again. So that won't be spent on specific locations. That's just locations and education program.
Yes, that's correct.
anything else, Councilmember Allen?
Nope, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Some we need a mute. Some button to be pressed. Councilmember Suara.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any question with regard to this resolution. I have with regards to one we already passed, and I'm not sure what the protocol is, but if I want to request information, what is the best way to do that, please? I couldn't press my button in time to say something before the vote.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us which one it is? And
It will be the 491, the grants for the JAG, and it talks about training, but it also talks about equipment. When I look at the details, it says there's supposed to be a document with the details attached, but it was not on mine. So I was wondering if we could see what those equipments are, or tell if someone can tell what type of equipment we're talking about.
well, I'll note that went to the Public Safety Committee too, so you could attend that meeting and ask those questions in real time. Otherwise, just to, because we've already made a recommendation.
Yes.
Maybe you could ask.
My apologies, I couldn't press mute in time, but okay, I will do that. And in the events that I cannot, is there a way to ask Director Cooper if I can get that information?
Yes, Councilmember, we'll get that email to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, council member. All right, so we're on 493. It's been moved and seconded, and there's nobody else in the queue here. Not seeing anybody else. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Resolution RS 2024-94 Mendez, or Bradford, Mendez, and others authorizes Metro Water and Sewage Services to enter into a utility relocation contract with Tennessee Department of Transportation to construct I-40 Donaldson Pike Interchange located in Davidson County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anybody wish to speak? Not seeing anybody. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval of resolution 494. Next, resolution RS 2024-95, Bradford, Mendez, and others authorizes Metro Water and Sewage Services to enter into a utility relocation contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation to construct I-40 Donaldson Pike Interchange located in Davidson County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Can I ask Mr. Cooper to tell us what the differences are between this one and the last one?
Yes, sir. I believe one of them is related to water facilities and one of them related to sewer facilities. And so there are two separate contracts for the utility relocation. Same project, but two different contracts.
Thank you, sir. Anybody wish to speak on this one? Seeing nobody, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Next is resolution RS 2024-96. Sponsor Councilman Hall requests the Director of Finance to take the appropriate action to recoup all funds appropriated in fiscal year 2020-2021 Metro government operating budget to the Metro Hospital Authority that were also covered by Federal CARES Act and other COVID-19 related funding sources. Is Councilmember Hall on the call?
I'm here.
All right. Is there a motion to approve this
Yes, there is, sir.
from a committee member?
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Can I ask Director Cooper to explain what this does?
Yes, Chair. This is a memorializing resolution that asks the finance director to take whatever action is necessary to recoup any of the subsidy for the hospital authority that for expenses that may have been covered by the CARES Act funding or other COVID-related funding that the hospital authority received.
And can I ask whether the administration has an opinion about this? Mr. Jameson, are you on?
Yes, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I spoke with our finance director, Director Trumbo, earlier regarding this, and his communications with General Hospital since this development has been focused on the reporting concerns, but not the use of the money. The money is still there, and if it can't be used in full for the purposes intended, his strong preference would be to work together with General Hospital to determine the best use of it rather than require its rescission. If we reverse our supplement, that would somewhat smack of redoing the budget and tie our hands in terms of working with General Hospital. So with that, the administration would be respectfully opposed to this resolution.
All right. Council Member Porterfield, I see your hand up.
Thank you so much, Chair. Do we know if there was any actual overlapping of those funds?
I don't know who would be the right person for that. I see Mr. Crumbo's hand up. Mr. Crumbo? You need to unmute yourself, Mr. Crumbo.
Sound check, Bob?
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. So as Mr. Jameson mentioned, my communication with General Hospital, I know it was a bit controversial at that time, but if you look closely, it was really aimed at the reporting of that and the timing of that reporting, so it could have been considered with respect to supplement during the cycle. Here, I think what Councilman Hall is trying to here is very good in the sense that even at the time, we would like to know all the information about General Hospital so that we could get all the accounting right and all the buckets even at that time. And even though that's passed us by, here, the money is still there, as Mr. Jameson said, and if it can't be used for the intended purpose for which it's in General Hospital's hands, and of course we'd like to work with General Hospital to find some things perhaps around the plate of the Metro government that General Hospital could take on, and by virtue of that, it would free up other monies at the Metro government for other things that are including our budget or that this council and others may appropriate at the time. So I think the tool we'd like to use here is, Mr. Jameson said, is just to work with the hospital, determine what funds may overlap, and to the extent they do, let's work with them to find a way to use them all. I think a bad outcome, of course, would be that those funds are returned to the federal government unused by us as a local government.
Thank you. Councilmember Porterfield, any follow-up on that?
No, thank you, Director Crumbo.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thanks, Councilmember. And I'll call on the sponsor yet, Councilman Hall.
Yeah, so for clarity, we're not saying really that much different in terms of the explanation or wording. It is to find out if there's any redundancy, and it is to see if those funds can be utilized for other things. All the conversation has been centered around on other things that clearly would come back through council, but would focus on the areas in which Nashville General Hospital serves primarily. And if we could, I believe Ms. Wiggins is also on the call, and she can also attest to those conversations that both Director Crumbo and I've had, and that she and I've had in terms of the intent.
Okay, and I just want to ask Councilmember, given finance and the administration saying they're opposed to this, do you have any interest in deferring this for a meeting and trying to, since you're saying close to the same thing, is your point, try to get on the same page, or no?
It is. It's been an ongoing process. Like I said, several conversations with the finance director and with Ms. Mary Jo Higgins. And I know she was still waiting on some information from Nashville General Hospital. But again, it wasn't to, we want Nashville General to have the money that they were awarded. We want them to qualify for more. What we're looking at was if there's any redundancy, anything that was allotted in the budget that's also going to be paying for the same thing that some of that money that they were awarded would be paying for, that they keep the money they were awarded, and then what we allocated would come back and we could put that to use somewhere else.
And I appreciate your work you're doing on that. I guess my question is, do you want to have this go forward with a vote today and at the meeting tomorrow with the administration objecting, or do you want to maybe defer to meeting and try to work it out with them?
We can move to defer one meeting so I can have conversations. The administration outside of the finance director and Ms. Wiggins haven't been involved in these other conversations, so I wasn't aware that they had an issue or even taking note of it, and that was all left up to the finance director and Ms. Wiggins. So I have no issue with deferring one meeting so we can continue that conversation and actually bring Mr. Jameson or the mayor into the conversation directly.
All right. Does a committee member want to make the motion to defer for one meeting?
Chair, can I ask a, wait, sorry. Did someone make the motion? I was going to ask a question of the sponsor.
I'll rescind my motion to give you the opportunity to ask your question, Councilwoman, if it pleases the chair.
Member Smarter, go ahead.
My question is, during the budget proceeding, I know that Metro had indicated that what they actually asked for is not what they got. And so my question to the sponsor is this taken into consideration with this resolution as well, noting that we did not fund everything that was asked for?
I'm sorry, could you clarify? Are you saying, was it they received less?
Yeah, so my understanding is that Metro had asked for a certain amount. I think it was about 3 million less that the administration approved. And so is that amount taken into consideration as you're looking into this COVID money as well?
It is, because as I'm aware of my conversation with the finance director, Ms. Wiggins, there was actually more believed. Initially, we thought it was just over 9 million, but it was 10.2. And so that total amount is being looked at, and all those things are being considered in that process. That's why I said I had no issue with deferring one meeting so that we could get the administration caught up into those conversations that have been taking place for the last month.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be sure that since we underfunded them, and as we're trying to make sure that Metro gets the money that it needs, that we're not taking some money knowing that we did not fund everything. Just wanted to put that on note there.
No, it's to make sure they get to keep all of that was awarded. Like I said, it's just looking for any redundancies that can be returned back and used for other options.
All right. So council members and finance directors have spoken. Take your hands down unless you're seeking to comment further, please. Just want to see whether there's anybody else in the queue. All right. Mr. Krumpa, are you seeking to comment further? I'll take that as a no. All right. You guys have heard the sponsor say that he's okay with a one meeting deferral. Does somebody want to make that motion?
Move for 1 meeting deferral.
Second.
All right. One meeting deferral has been moved and seconded. Councilmember Swar, anything else to add, or the hand is left over from before?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was from before.
All right. Thank you. Seeing nobody else in the queue, then all in favor of recommending a one meeting deferral, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, we recommend a one meeting deferral. Thank you, Councilmember Hall. Thank you, Director Krumba. All right, we've got a late filed resolution, another related to the COVID-19 Oversight Committee recommendations. It was, I think, emailed to all council members this morning. We're going to discuss it now. It's a late filed resolution. Sponsors Sepulveda, Mendez, Johnston, Gamble. Proposes recommendations by the COVID-19 Financial Oversight Committee for distribution of $2.5 million in CARES Act funds from the COVID-19 Pandemic Fund to provide food assistance for Davidson County residents affected by COVID-19 to be administered by Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee using the Our Fair Share Nashville preliminary report submitted by the Equity Alliance and commissioned by the Mayor's Office. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, and Mr. Cooper, I mean, I think the caption's pretty self-explanatory, but because it's late filed, can you tell us about this?
Yes, sir. We received this legislation today to be considered by the committee today and council tomorrow. It's a recommendation of the COVID CARES Act committee, and it would be to immediately allocate $2.5 million to Second Harvest Food Bank for food relief for to help with the pandemic.
Thank you. And if I can impose on Council Member Sepulveda, who's the first listed sponsor, just to tell us about briefly why it's late filed and what the urgency is, that would be appropriate. Council Member.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It is late filed because we just voted on the language this morning. It's urgent because according to the Equity Alliance, with some of the research they did, we have a food shortage going on right now. And we wanted to make sure that we got this out there sooner rather than later. And so a lot of the language is the same as the first resolution. It also has biweekly reporting with the parts of town that are being served, demographics, age, and all of that. It does have a 3% administration fee, but according to our correspondence with Second Harvest, a lot of that is going towards the purchase of food, the preparation of food. You know, they might have to purchase refrigerated vehicles or lease them to help with distribution. They are also setting up additional establish new strategic locations in underserved areas. That was also in the reporting given to us by the Equity Alliance. So it's gonna allow us to, you know, serve some of these communities. They are also looking at doing some home deliveries. We know that many of our residents are unable to leave their homes right now. So I would just encourage this committee to approve it.
All right, thank you. And thanks to you and Council members Gamble and Johnston for serving on that committee. Councilmember Porterfield, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair. I echo that sentiment. Thank you, Councilwomen Sepulveda, Gamble, and Johnson for serving on this committee during this time of pandemic. I know I've personally received a lot of requests from people around the city as well as residents of District 29 looking for resources, looking for food pantries, and for any type of entity that is helping to serve with a food shortage during this time. So is very much needed, and thank you so much for the work that you guys are doing.
Thanks, Council Member. All right, anybody else wishing to comment on this late filed resolution about allocating $2.5 million of COVID relief money to Second Harvest Food Bank? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, we recommend approval. All right, on to bills on second reading. BL 2020-386, sponsor Allen, amends the Metro Code regarding the selection of appraisers for the sale, purchase, lease, sublease, or other disposition of real property owned by the Metro government, and to require a community meeting prior to the execution of lease agreements. The motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I see Councilmember Vercher, then Allen. Councilmember Vercher?
Thank you, Chair. If the sponsor can give us some background regarding this, I know it was some conversation around this last term. If she can just give us some background and some updates as it relates to this legislation. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Councilmember Allen?
Thank you. Happy to do that. And I also have an amendment that I want to move at some point. I will speak to the background for the bill first. So this is born out of conversations and many community meetings that I have had about a use of public land where this was not done. The community was brought in way after the fact, and it's absolutely been very clear that that is not the best way to ensure that when we are using public land in partnership with a private entity who may be bringing benefit, nonetheless, it is important to engage the community on the front end. And so this is kind of part of a whole package that I'm working on to create a more formalized process for community engagement in public-private partnerships and long-term land leases of public property. I have the amendment that I would like to move with a brief explanation, if I might.
Let's find out whether Councilmember Bircher has questions on the background, and then we'll do that if that's okay.
Okay.
No, Chair, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Go ahead on moving the amendment.
Yes, the amendment would simply establish a minimum threshold so that this doesn't apply to, you know, if we're leasing some small piece of property that's a no-brainer, that has no one anywhere near it, then that's not what we want to be spending our time on. So in consultation with the mayor's office and the property purchasing director, I have an amendment that would add $1 million threshold and then allow the director of property to adjust that threshold up based on how the CPI adjusts, just to take into account that that may become a meaningless threshold 10 or 20 years from now. So that would just add an automatic adjustment to that. So with that, I would like to move the amendment and then answer any further questions.
So moved.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the amendment. May I ask a question, Councilmember, about
yes, sir.
Amendment? The notice of the community meeting says it goes to neighborhood associations and community organizations registered with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhoods. That strikes me as that language working well, maybe the inner part of the city, but in far out areas, I don't put in HOAs account. Just really thought about that.
You were breaking up a little bit, but I think if I understood you, you were asking if that would apply to HOAs. As we have learned in some other language where we refer to community groups, there needs to be some type of distinguishment so that we don't necessarily end up with the local bowling league that we didn't really want to drag into this. And so again, in consultation with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhoods, just because they are working on developing a better list of who the engaged neighborhoods are and just trying to come up with a better way to make sure that they have a good way to push information out as well as receiving it back. This is consistent with the Mayor's Office desire to have a more formalized list of any group of neighborhood associations that has an interest in how development happens around them or land use issues that come up. So I would say, I don't know what their policy is on whether they would recognize HOAs or not, but my goal is to allow any group of people who live in an area that might be affected by a change in how public land is used to be able to at least be aware that something is going on so that they can provide input on the front end.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Sledge on the amendment.
Yeah, Chair, I wanted to follow up kind of on your questions regarding a list of community groups, because I have found throughout my time on council that the Mayor's Office of Neighborhoods, I'm sure while well-intentioned, has kept a completely outdated and inaccurate list of neighborhood groups, to the point that the most recent communication I had from the Office of Neighborhoods regarding community groups in my district left out basically the 3 longest standing community groups in the district. So I have a real issue with trying to define what a community group is, because I think it opens us up to all kinds of issues where folks who I would say do have a voice or do need to have a voice in the process might be left out. And those who maybe have other intentions would identify themselves as a community group, and all it would take is for an office to recognize them.
Thank you. It didn't sound like there was a question there. Do you have an inquiry for anybody in the administration or the sponsor?
Yeah, I guess I would ask the sponsor if could be potentially further consideration of how we define a community group, because I think we're treading on some pretty dangerous territory there.
Councilmember Allen?
Yes, I would absolutely be open to that. I mean, I think my goal is to do whatever it takes to be as inclusive as possible. And this is on second reading, so if we need more time to work on that, I'm open to whatever it takes. But I would welcome other thoughts on that. I have not come up with a good way. I don't know if we also work through the council member who may know other groups and then should then also tell the mayor's office of neighborhood that they're missing them. So I would welcome input on that. I would also welcome sponsors on the bill in general, but back to the amendment.
All right, I've got some more folks. Councilmember Van Rees on the amendment.
Sorry, space bar issues. Thank you for taking my inquiry. I had a question concerning neighborhood groups as well, because I know that the definition of a neighborhood association or the definition of a neighborhood group is one that's a little valuable, and wondered if there was any reason why you didn't just indicate the same sort of property distance in a rezoning. For example, what's the largest one? Probably 6,000 square feet from the property that all property owners are notified. I'm not sure why you didn't do it that way, because I know that in the 5 years so far in my work council, it's been hard to get neighborhood associations started. So there's Music City Solar, of course, was a project that was a property lease transfer for Music City Solar, the old land, so nothing else could be done with it. This would fall under that $1 million threshold, so that's good. But the notification of what we were doing was kind of left to me to let people know. But if you just had at that time only required to talk to neighbor associations, there were none. There are absolutely none in that area. So, but you do want to make sure that the hospital knew about it, and you do want to make sure that the neighbors across the street knew about it. So I think maybe looking at more of a notification in the way that will notify rezoning, maybe more equitable in notification. Of course, that somebody has to pay for that. So I would think that you would want whoever the applicant is for that transaction to be responsible for that. I think that would be a no-brainer because they would want to be involved. And so I would ask you to consider that as well. And a lot of times with some of these, if the property being transferred is part of a rezoning, if the community meetings about the rezoning count as a community conversation about the fact that the property would be burned. And Councilmember Sledge may have more experience in regard to that particular situation, but if you had a community property that was going to be, was deemed something that the city didn't find use for, but somebody else did, then usually that other thing that they find useful means rezoning, right? So I'm wondering whether or not they can somehow work on the same track. I don't know if you thought about those things yet.
Good suggestion, thank you.
Councilmember Suara.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank CM Allen for bringing this. I think last year when we voted not to do appraisals on purchases, I really didn't understand the rationale. And so bringing this back and making sure that when we're buying or selling, we're looking at it, I think is a good idea. My question is on the amendment. I know that we talk about the 1 million amendment and we're talking about community engagement. I guess my question specifically is, does the amendment pertains to the appraisals as well, or is it just for the community notification? So meaning that the threshold, we only get appraisals if it's over 1 million, or that does not impact that?
Councilmember Allen.
Yeah, the neighborhood notification is where the threshold is. The amendment on the appraisal is already spelled out. And that's a separate paragraph that I'm adding about the notification that would be for the threshold. And I will check my language to be sure, but that was the intent.
So the appraisal will be for any property that we're selling or buying.
The appraisal would be for any property that that was already in there.
Regardless of the amount.
Correct. There is already built in the ability for the director to waive the need for a new appraisal if there's an existing appraisal that he feels is appropriate, and that would not not be affected by this.
Okay. Director Cooper, I remember that, I think it was in December when we did the bill that was actually taking it off where we need appraisals for purchasing. There was an argument as to why we did that. Is that argument gone away? I'm just trying to reconcile the two.
No, the appraisal part in Councilmember Allen's bill is really just focusing on when an appraisal is required, the appraisal has to be done by a certified appraiser. So the criteria for when an appraisal is required is not changing. So the council's action back in December stands. This would just specify that the appraiser be a state certified appraiser, and that if the value is over $1 million, you have a community meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Sledge, is your hand up from before? All right, thank you. So we're on the amendment, Councilmember Allen, before we take a vote on that, after the amendment's added, are you trying to get a recommendation for approval or push it off to work on that community organization?
I believe since this is on second reading and it's not the type of bill that I can amend on third without suspending the rules, that I will ask for a one meeting deferral so that I can work on those very good suggestions.
So, and the idea is, though, to get the current amendment added, and then
I would like to get the amendment added.
All right, thank you. So we're on a motion to amend BL 2023-86. It's been moved and seconded. There's further discussion. All in favor of adding amendments, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the amendment is added. Councilmember Allen, we're on your bill as amended. You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move to defer one meeting.
Or a second? I'll second. All right.
Second.
There's the bill as amended. There's been a motion to defer for one meeting. That's been seconded. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend deferring the bill with the amendment for one meeting. All right, BL 2020-387, Hancock, Evans, and others amends the Metro Code pertaining to health insurance benefits for members of the Metro Council after they leave office. Is there a motion? Anybody on the committee? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded, and I guess I'll ask Mr. Cooper to describe it first, and then ask if I know there's more than one co-sponsor, they can talk about it and then open it for discussion. Mr. Cooper?
Yes, sir. So back in I think it was in the early 90s, the council enacted an ordinance to allow former council members to continue to receive health insurance benefits after they leave office. And that was for after serving 8 years, then you'd be eligible to continue to receive the benefits at the employee rate of premium contribution, so to speak, which is currently 25% paid by Metro, 25% paid by the employee, 75% paid by Metro. If you've served less than 8 years, you can continue to participate, but you have to pay 100% of the cost. What this bill would do is it would grandfather in everyone currently receiving the benefit. So former council members would be grandfathered. It would grandfather in everyone essentially who's in their first term now that would have served 8 years at the end of when we get to 2023. And then going forward, council members could participate, but the amount of contribution would be tied to the contribution rates the council enacted a few years ago for retirees, for employees who join Metro after 2013 and then retire. There's a scaled participation contribution level depending on your years of service. So for 8 to 15 years of service as a council member, Metro would pay 25% and the employee would pay 75% of the monthly cost. And then that would scale down until you got to the 25% employee contribution after 20 years.
And then I see an amendment in the package from Councilmember O'Connell. Can you go ahead and describe that for us too?
That would extend the grandfathering date to cover basically everyone serving as a council member now, whether you're in your first term or second term, would be eligible. And it would kick in for those running for the first time at the next council term.
Thank you. And I see one council member with his hand up. Councilman Glover, do you want me to call on one of the sponsors first to talk about it, or go ahead with your question? Either way is fine with me.
Whichever you want to do. I don't care, Chair. I want to talk about how this actually saves us any money. So you can do whatever you want to on the sponsors, then come back to me.
All right, I'll see whether a sponsor wants to speak on it first. Saw a couple sponsors here. As Councilmember Hancock first, do you wish to say anything about this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll start with Councilman Glover's question first. So right now we're looking at $839,000 cost per year to Metro government. And at the rate we're going, by the end of 2023, we're looking at a $1.2 million cost. It was $600,000 just 4 years ago. So the costs are going incrementally up. It's a really nice package, and it was intended as our legal counsel, John Cooper, explained in 1990 to balance the benefits that Metro employees have. However, as he also referred to, in 2013, we changed the Metro benefits. So now Metro employees do not get this quote unquote lifetime or perpetual insurance package until they've served for 20 years. So we're saying that 9,000 of our employees have to work 20 years to get it, but we can earn it in just 8. We've raised the taxes by 35% or 34.5% in the USD and 37.3% in the GSD, and we told them that we cut all the fat, that we cut all the meat, and we can't cut into the bone, that there's nothing more we can cut. However, in our budget meeting with Councilmember Mendez, Budget Chair Mendez, budget being analyzed with Zoltat Sarara in a public meeting, one of the things that was brought up in that meeting with the public was that we do have this healthcare benefit that over the years is just going to increase, and it's something that none of our peer cities do. So in 2014, we did a large detailed overview with a private company, Deloitte, that looked at every aspect of how we compensate people, both with pay and with benefits. And the 2 recommendations they gave Metro Council is, 1, we're not paying council members enough compared to our 17 peer cities. So we need to raise that rate, and we raise that rate. And the other thing is, we're the only city out of all of our peers that offers this benefit, and we need to cancel this benefit because it's outrageous. You know, as John Cooper said, we could continue with the COBRA plan, or, you know, the council members paying their own way. They could still stay on insurance, but if they're only serving 8 years, there's no need to make the government pay for that into perpetuity. And I think that the main thing that we need to show our constituents is, hey, we hired this company and they told us to give ourselves a raise and to cut the healthcare benefits. So how does that look to all of our constituents if we give ourselves a raise, which we did last term, but then we say, but we don't believe you on that part of the plan. And all of these other cities are not $4.5 billion in debt like we are. So right now we need to look at every avenue of excessive spending, and this was deemed by an outside group as being excessive, and that's why I brought this bill from 2017 back to light, and also because the arguments that were made in 2017 are actually factually untrue if you look at the breakdown of the council members that are currently serving and on the plan, and the council members that have served in the past and are on the plan. So I would just like to bring this back before the council in good faith, knowing that we are making $8,000 more than we made in the last term, and we can still be on the Metro insurance. The majority of us are employed otherwise and also have another opportunity for insurance. So now we have insurance choice. It's not taking away insurance. It's just not telling the taxpayer that they have to pay for us because we served for 8 years.
Thank you. Council Member Glover, back to you.
Okay, well, I guess I'm confused. I think it's more than apparent that we have a massive debt problem. It's also more than apparent that we really didn't cut anything, and I fail to really understand how this shows any savings in the immediate near future for the taxpayers of Nashville. And I'd sent an email over to Director Cooper this morning asking, what legal problems there would be. Mr. Cooper, I'd like to expand the question just a bit further. If the state came in and took over the district, all right, just hypothetically, and they said, we're going to do away with this, could the state, in fact, come in and do away with these lifetime health benefits that the council members have the option of taking or turning down?
Mr. Cooper?
I think that's kind of an open legal question. When the study and formulating committee was looking at health benefits some years ago, there was an opinion from Metro Legal at the time, I think written by Sue Kane, who was director at the time, that basically said if you can essentially vest in your health insurance benefits, so that if it's something that you are entitled to and are receiving, then that cannot be taken away from you. And then that would apply to people vested in the system who were employees that then retired. So that question has not specifically been addressed as it relates to taking away health insurance benefits for council members. So I can't tell you for sure what would happen if the state came in and did that, but there is a legal argument that taking away a defined benefit could pose a legal problem.
Okay, well, I'll renew what I said. I don't really see where this saves taxpayers any money in the immediate future. I'll support the bill, but I supported it before when Councilman Claiborne did this, and I was around when we voted against the pay increase, or several of us did, and it failed, and then they kind of went around a different way and got it in there. So I think if we could find another exit strategy for how we save taxpayers money, that'd be beneficial to everybody's wallet. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. And everybody else with their hand up, I'm going to hit committee members first and then circle back to the others. So Councilmember Allen, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just so everyone has the benefit of accurate history, like Councilmember Glover, I have voted once against a pay increase for the council when it was offered for the council alone. This last pay increase that was passed was part of a much larger pay plan that gave a long overdue step increase to the rest of the Metro employees. And we asked at that time if we could pull the council members out. And we're told, no, we couldn't. We couldn't give the rest of Metro employees a raise without us being included, because that was how the pay plan was put together. So I just want to make sure that we're on the record, not as having just voted ourselves a raise, because we thought we needed to be paid more, it was the only way that we could give the rest of the Metro employees a raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Then Councilmember Vercher. Councilmember Vercher. You're still muted. All right, hand down. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to note that my amendment has not been moved, but I would encourage any of the members of the committee to consider moving it. I think it would help the overall discussion.
All right, thanks. Let me get, well, any committee member want to make that motion, or do you want to have the discussion first?
A motion to add the amendment.
Second. So there's been a motion to add the amendment, which again pushes the effective date out to 2027. Any discussion from committee members about that amendment? Any Councilmember Van Rees about the amendment?
No, I'm sorry. It's the first I've heard of the amendment. I'd be more than happy to comment on it in context with my other thoughts, if that would be appropriate. The amendment, I think, speaks to a lot of where I'm coming from on this. I think I know that Mr. Mendez and I had conversations on this in our first term. I know that one of the reasons that I considered putting my professional life a bit on hold in order to do public service was because of the benefits package. And I don't know that there are not other folks that are thinking about running in 2023 or 2027 that are also making those considerations. I understand even with the legislation as presented, even without the amendment, doesn't affect me because I'm now a second-term council member. But I don't want to be somebody who speaks only about their own perspective. But I think that you have to be thinking future. We all know how many hours it takes to do this job properly. The parity that we now receive, our salary is the same, I believe, as the state representative receives, but without the additional benefits of stipends and daily costs and transportation fees and all those other things that that the state provides. So it's not outrageous to say that our part-time job, which we know means 12 hours a day, is receiving an equitable compensation for the state because of that. And I just think that the benefits package allows people, particularly that don't have spouses with benefits or are single and looking for public service in a way that allows them to be both an entrepreneur or solely employed, that the benefits package ensures that our very large Metro Council has more than just people who can afford health care independently. And so I just wanted to drop those things in. I think that the amendment, going back to the amendment of moving this to 2027, even further underscores the opportunity to be able to know that incoming folks looking to serve their city are well aware of what the pay structure and opportunities as well as sacrifices are to participate. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Councilmember Hancock on the amendment.
Yes, I just wanted to, this applies to both the amendment and the bill, but restate that this does not take away anyone's health care. Everyone can still get health care. Everyone for the next 10, 20, 40, presumably as long as Nashville survives, can still get health care at the $25.75 rate. It only amends the after your service time. And if you do end up serving 2 years at the district level and 2 years at the at-large, you would still be qualified for the perpetual benefits. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So then the amendment to have the effective date be in 2027. See who else in the queue. On the amendment.
I'm sorry, did you recognize me, council member?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure that I want to push this out to 2027, but I do think the October 1 date makes more sense than the August date, because anyone who was elected through a runoff will not have actually made 8 years by August, but they might have made it by October 1 of 2023. So I would at least throw out, depending on what happens with this amendment, that we also consider moving to the October date as opposed to August for the people that are in their second term.
All right, thanks. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify that 2027 date, that is basically to ensure that people who sought and ran and won are not necessarily negatively impacted. I mean, we do this in public policy domains all the time to ensure that an expectation set in policy doesn't affect the existing workers. This would take effect in the future. Would probably make it a more palatable consideration for people currently serving from a fiscal responsibility standpoint. Again, to Councilmember Peck's point, we eliminate anybody's access to a benefit, it reduces the fund.
Thank you. All right, so we're on the amendment to the effective date be October 1, 2027. And I see nobody else in the queue. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any votes, anybody opposed to the amendment?
No.
No.
All right, we're going to do hand raising. All in favor, put your up in WebEx.
Chair, this is Councilwoman Benedict. I'm in favor.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can you clarify, is this the yay or the nay? You broke up on that explanation.
This is the in favor of the amendment. And
I see 8 in favor.
all right, Mr. Cooper, my WebEx was freezing a little bit, so I'm not able to really see all the hands at the same time right now. So you've got the in favors, and everybody in favor, please take your hand down. And if you're opposed, stick your WebEx hand up. And Mr. Cooper, let me know when you got.
Chair, your hand is still up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, my window is frozen, so it's going to have to stay up.
Yeah, the 3, not including you, there's 3 in a. So it's 11-3. I'm sorry, 8-3.
All right.
Point of order, Emily was 9, so.
I'm sorry.
Did you get Councilmember Benedict's yes vote?
Yes, 9-3. I apologize.
All right. So it passes 9-3. If my hand is still up, my apologies. I still obviously have video and sound, but I can't move the window to see hands. That's gonna, I guess going forward, Mr. Cooper, unless my WebEx recovers, you're gonna have to tell me who's up to get called on. I'll entertain a motion to approve this as amended.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion about the motion to approve as amended?
Chair, Councilmember Vercher has her hand up.
Councilmember Vercher, go ahead.
Yeah, Chair, I want to say I believe we're the only body that continues to chip away, one, at our own credibility, and two, at our own benefits. As a body, as a city, we claim that we're fighting certain fights. Everyone knows that this benefit serves a certain group of people that choose to serve in this city. This effort here, we're not going to see it immediately, but what's going to happen is that this body isn't going to look like the city. We're going to lose the representation on this body. It was stated when this was brought back before former Councilman Bettany, one of his reasons for serving was because of the benefit. And if he had to choose, I believe he used the terms low income citizen or immigrant shouldn't have to choose between whether or not if they want to serve their community or a particular benefit. I don't know why we keep rehashing these old fights, but this is all related, and every time this comes up, it just reeks of privilege. I mean, it really does. I don't take the benefit, but I also don't want to prevent anyone else from being able to take the benefit. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what the future holds. And if we are so concerned about this city's budget, this isn't the way to do it. Many of us, we sacrifice many hours to serve this city, some more than others. And we are the ones that make this benefit an issue. I have not one constituent that's expressed a concern over this benefit. What they are concerned with is the response time of people. What they are concerned with are the schools. What they are concerned with is the firefighters. Many of our constituents, they see the work that we do, and many are okay with it. And nationally, it was mentioned about no other peer city. Our other peers have more benefits. The salaries are higher. I would rather see a proposal come forward to this body if we're so concerned about the budget, reducing the size of the body. But chipping away at benefits for people that's wanting to serve the city, that's not the way. That's not the way to do it. It reeks of privilege. It sends a message to people. And for that, Chair, I'm gonna be no on the amendment and no on the bill each and every time it comes up while I'm on council. So that's all I have to say, Chair.
Thank you, Council Member. Anybody else, Mr. Cooper?
Yes, we have Councilmember Porterfield next.
Go ahead, Council Member.
Thank you so much, Chair. And Councilwoman Vercher hit many of the points that I wanted to address. I do not support this legislation either. And I want to highlight something that Councilwoman Vercher said about the comparison in peer cities. When we went to National League of Cities last year, talking to elected officials across the country and hearing about the benefits that they are offered, hearing about the stipends and their ability to get their travel covered. I know we get a small travel stipend, but their ability to get their travel covered so that they can learn how to be a better elected official, so that they can learn best practices on policy and cutting edge practices so that they can fight for their communities and make their communities better. It was frankly embarrassing to hear what we have here in Nashville to help support our council members as opposed to what we're seeing nationally. this absolutely becomes an equity issue. I mirror Councilwoman Van Reese. I definitely don't want to make this about me because it's not a me issue, but using myself as an example, I quit my job in education to serve my community. You are losing earning potential when you come to serve your community. And this is nowhere near a part-time job. We are working around the clock for pennies simply because we want to make this city better and we want to serve our communities. So this is one of the only benefits that people are getting, and it becomes an equity issue. If we have a council that is filled with people that can absolutely afford everything, you're not a representation of the people. This is a benefit that gives low-income people the ability to run for office, that gives minorities a benefit for running for office, that gives working-class people a benefit for running for office. And if we don't have those voices on council, who's going to represent those constituents? Who's going to represent that body? Because it is hard to represent individuals that you don't have anything in common with. When we're fighting for money for education, it's hard when people don't have their kids in public school or when they're not taking advantage of some of these services for them to understand the necessity. So if we're talking about representing every group in this city and making sure that working class people are represented, we have to have working class people on council. So I will absolutely vote against this. It came up in 2017. It's come up multiple times. I remember watching this when our council members and when members of the minority caucus fought this in 2017. It's going to keep coming up. And like Councilwoman Virtue said, we can't, why it keeps coming up and we have to keep fighting it. So I'm going to vote no, and I encourage my colleagues to vote no.
Thank you. Councilmember Sledge.
Thank y'all. And without repeating too much of what the previous two council members have said, I'm going to take the same position in voting against this bill. To give some perspective, you know, some of us represent districts that have a wide range of median income. The district I represent, there are census tracts where the household median income is north of $80,000. There are census tracts where the household median income is closer to $15,000 a year, 1-5. And if we continue to do the things that we are doing, we are essentially not only telling certain people that it's almost impossible for them to run, we are essentially limiting district by district in some districts across the county who is even able to run. And we know what's going to happen from that from a representation standpoint. I want to add one thing to what Councilmember Porterfield said about peers and peer cities. In my conversations with council members across the country, one thing I've noticed is the more equity comes with council members who are able to dedicate more of their time and resources to the job. And quite frankly, what we do right now in this city is we handicap our council. We ensure that we can't spend most of our time and resources toward this job unless we are independently wealthy. If we really want equity in this city when it comes to pay and benefits, what we should be doing is looking at how we govern and how our governance system is set up. And right now, we have chopped ourselves off at the knees regarding how we pay our council and how we staff our council. And this isn't a conversation about benefits. I'm a little surprised we're having a conversation about who gets health care in 2020. That's a separate argument. I'm just going to say, let's not do this to ourselves. We ought to be having a totally different conversation about how we bring equity to our county. And I would suggest that colleagues vote no on this.
Councilmember Hancock.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Councilwoman Virtue for that idea on shrinking the size of the council. I think that's excellent. And while I don't have salary data for council members, I do have the data from all of our peer cities. And all of our peer cities, with the exception of Cincinnati, are doing better than us with having minorities elected to council versus the minorities they have in their city. And if you want to talk about white privilege, on our healthcare plan, we have 71 total council members on the plan. 61 of them are white, 10 are minorities. Former council members are 46, 40 are white, 6 are minorities. This term alone, we have 25 people on the plan. 4 of our 11 minorities are on the plan. The other 21 are our Caucasian colleagues. And there's nothing wrong with being on the plan. And this is not taking away anyone's health care. Your health care will continue. And the health care of the council members before you will continue. And the council members that follow along behind us will continue to have access to health care while they're on council. The only thing that changed is requiring the city to pay council members that have only served 8 years into perpetuity. We have 9,561 Metro employees. 34% of those are minority. 34%, and they have to wait 20 years before they get perpetual benefits, and they're not rich either. You know, I did get the opportunity this spring to drive to 28 of our council members' houses and deliver t-shirts, and our council members are not rich. This is not a privileged council. I didn't get to go to everyone's, but we have very normal houses on our council, very normal lifestyles. This is not a position of privilege. It is indeed a position of service, and it's a position where we need to look after the well-being of all 6 million residents in Nashville and let them understand that, yes, we're going to take benefits just as we would give our Metro employees. But until our Metro employees earn that in 8 years, until our city can afford to do that, I don't think we should do that too.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if this will wind up reaching the floor for discussion or not in a way that allows for it. So I figured I would jump in here because it's probably where the most discussion have an amendment. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think the most valuable part of this is actually the conversation about equity, right? I understand the way in which this is perceived as let's not do this to ourselves. This could limit equity within the body. The problem is right now, what we're seeing is exactly a discussion about the lack of affordability and certainty in healthcare, right? That is exactly what this is. And right now, I enjoy a benefit that I cannot meaningfully offer to what remains at the last Metro Social Services survey, the highest per capita poverty, which is still resident in District 19. I would love to be able to offer that. And I think, unfortunately, having access to this actually gives us the privilege of not having to fight as hard for universal access to affordable health care. And that is where I'm coming from in participating in this discussion.
Thank you, sir. Let's see. I see Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you so much, Chair. I appreciate you for recognizing me again. I do have a question based on what Councilman O'Connell just stated. I would absolutely love to see universal health care. Do we as a body have the opportunity to, expand Medicaid, Medicare in Tennessee or in Nashville? I don't believe we do, but is there a way to expand universal health care here as a body, since he mentioned that that's something that we should fight on?
I'll save us that. I'm confident that was rhetorical and there's not.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And then my other statement was in regards to something that the sponsor stated. I actually spoke with a former council member who tried to use this benefit, and it was nowhere near, it wasn't free. It wasn't, that it was extremely expensive for them to use the benefit. So this is not a benefit where people can continue to use it and they're using it for free. They're still paying for this benefit. And I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare us to, Metro employees who can qualify for retirement and other benefits that we as Metro Council members do not qualify for. Many Metro employees work a shift. They work a 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever, and they go home and spend time with their family, as opposed to council members who are working, who get, I don't know about my colleagues, but I have frequently received phone calls and text messages after 1 a.m., before 7 a.m. in the morning, around the clock, on the weekend. There is no time off in this part-time job. So we are going above and beyond to serve our community. So to me, it's not a fair comparison to compare this to our Metro employees having to work a longer time in order to get this benefit. We are working, our time is more condensed. We are working more in this short period of time. So again, I won't be supporting, and I encourage my colleagues not to. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to add in on what our colleagues say. As I listened to this, I thought about former Councilmember Ludi Wallace, who gave almost 30 years of his life to this council as an elected official. And he continues to mentor and help other council members as they come through this body. I think that we must keep those people in mind who made it possible for us. And recently, Councilman Wallace has had some health issues. And I'm sure that if he did not have the assistance that has been provided for him, that he would not have been able to overcome the health issues, the very serious health issues that he has experienced over time. So, I mean, I understand us trying to find ways to save monies, generate revenue, and eliminate expenses, but doing it off of the backs of hard-working individuals and those who we know are public servants, and not those who are doing this, because it's not easy for everyone who has served or who are serving on this council. So I understand the well intentions and well meaning behind this legislation, but I do not agree with it. And it's really interesting because while we were in budget hearings and going through the budget, I had a former council member tell me that we should stop this, but yet they were a recipient of it. So it's easy to say not to do, and anything can happen to anyone at any time. So having had to come up from big losses, I would just ask my colleagues to be compassionate about what they do and how they do it, and because the things that we pass are long-standing. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks. I'm going to give the sponsor the last word, but I want to just make clear, just for the viewing public, that Councilmember Wallace would have gotten the exact same benefit under every version that's out there, the existing version plus the proposed change. I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody. And then the other thing I want to make clear is I'm sure we all feel that Metro's employees work as hard as we do, and that we're not just the 40 hardest working people in Metro. I'm sure I speak for everybody on that. Councilmember Hancock, go ahead.
Thank you. And yes, I appreciate you saying that about Councilmember Wallace. And Councilmember Wallace declines this benefit. And in keeping with what Councilwoman Porterfield mentioned, it's true, it's not free. It's the same cost you pay now. It's $25.75. The city pays 75% of your health care bill, and you pay 25%. And if we kept it in place, the city would continue to do that 75% for the rest of your life if you served 8 or more years. And all I'm saying is that this bill is saying that if you serve 15 years, so that's if you serve 2 terms at district, 2 terms at large, or 2 terms at large, 2 terms of vice mayor, however way you want to work it out, you could still do it and still earn this benefit, but closer to how Metro employees earn this benefit as well. And I think we all have a perception of who is on this plan. And I have the list of who is on this plan, and it is not at all what is perceived. And I do think that this would make things a little bit more balanced on the council in terms of our breakdown, in terms of who we get to see in these seats. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to call on one last person, and then I'm going to urge everybody to remember that we got a committee meeting that's waiting for us to end. And so at this point, I feel like everybody probably knows how they're going to vote. And so I'll call on committee member, Councilmember Vercher, to wrap up the conversation.
Thank you, Chair. This is going to be my last comment regarding it. This is what makes fighting for equity so challenging. As well intended as the legislation is, our perception as a minority is our perception. It's not for anyone else to define. And at the end of the day, it's not about the benefit for us currently. We fight and we advocate for equity for those that's coming behind us. It has nothing to do with the benefit, so to speak, now. So I just want to encourage all my colleagues. You know, we're bringing forward a ton of legislation, and we really need to be intentional about such legislation that's going to impact minorities and those that have a particular income in this city that would want to serve. And sometimes my frustration is, and I don't know if it's intended or not, but for your minority membership on this council, we have a voice. When you do certain things, you're telling us we are invisible. We don't need you to define the perception. We live it. And as a minority council member in this city, it's hard enough to get elected. And we don't, I said this earlier, we don't have a crystal ball. We do not have a crystal ball. And I will end on this note, Chair. This benefit, defined as it is earned. It is earned. The city isn't giving us anything. And you can't compare what we do to anyone else in this city. Like my colleague talking about her mid-morning calls, late morning calls. I get calls 24/7. And I'm not complaining. But at the end of the day, you know, for someone that already has lifetime benefits, you know, it just reeks of you're just missing the point in its entirety. You're missing the point in its entirety. And my concern is, Chair, we're continuing to chip away at benefits for this council. We did it this last meeting, chipping away what we can do once we leave office in that realm of lobbying. So we're already chipping away at what we can do when we leave office. We don't need to chip away what may be a benefit for some that may want to serve. And I know the data. I got the data and the numbers too. But you can't define our perception. That's what privilege is, and sometimes you can't see it. You have to have someone else to define it for you, and that's all I'm gonna say on this matter, Chair.
All right, thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate the passion and comments on both sides of this. There's a motion to approve 387 as amended. Councilmember Hancock, can you take your hand down so we can do the vote? Hopefully my WebEx doesn't freeze during this vote. All in favor of recommending approval as amended, raise their hand. Anybody else voting in favor? Mr. Cooper, you got it?
I think I counted 6. Well, now I'm seeing 5.
5 is what I see. And let's have those 5 take their hands down. Any opposed? Raise your WebEx hand.
Chair, it's Councilwoman Benedict. I'm a no.
Mr. Cooper, so that's 6 no.
6.
Any, well, is there a 7th? Councilmember Suarez?
Yeah, that's 7 no.
All right, 7 no. So that's everybody.
Excuse me, you're forgetting Emily again. It's 8.
No, she voted. We got her.
I'm a no, Chair, just to confirm.
Yeah, it's 7, right? 7-5.
Correct.
All right.
5 in favor, 7 against. That's the full committee.
Yeah. So the recommendation is to not approve. It was 7 to not approve, 5 to approve. I might be saying that backwards, but it loses either way. Negative recommendation. Thanks everybody for that. Moving on to the next item. BL 2023-90, Mendez Murphy Henderson grants a franchise to Google Fiber Tennessee to construct, operate, and maintain a fiber optic communication system within Metro under the provisions of the Metro Code. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Porterfield, hand up for this.
My apologies, I didn't lower my hand.
All right, Councilmember Vercher for this one.
Thank you, Chair. If someone can speak to their digital divide plan, every time I hear something come up with Google, I'm interested to see where we're at as progress and with that as it relates to our minority communities in the city and what this will do for them, this franchise. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Cooper, do we have anybody that can speak to that?
I don't know if we have anyone from Google Fiber on. We have representatives from Public Works. I don't know if they could speak to that or not.
Public Works, any comment on that?
This is Shanna Whitelaw. No, I do not have a comment. I have not been able to get information from Google Fiber on what the process is. We can definitely look into it and talk to them to see where they are with reaching out into the communities with Google Fiber.
Thank you. Council Member Vercher.
Thank you, Chair. With that, I don't know if it's time sensitive, but I would like to move for a 1 meeting deferral.
Second.
All right, now we're on a motion to defer for 1 meeting. Anybody wishing to speak on that? Not seeing anybody. So all in favor of deferring for 1 meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody say so? Not hearing anybody, we have recommended deferral for 1 meeting. Is that what you got too, Mr. Cooper?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next item then, Councilmember Vercher, take your hand out, please. Next item, BL 2020-391, O'Connell Mendez Murphy declares surplus and authorizes the conveyance of a parcel of real estate located at 0 Spence Lane. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is it moved and seconded? Any discussion on BL 2020-391? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we recommend approval. Moving to the last item on the agenda, BL 2020-392, O'Connell, Mendez, and others, authorizes the acquisition of an interest in 2 parcels of property and the granting of an easement in those same parcels in connection with the development of a project in downtown Nashville. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Roten.
Since Councilmember O'Connell was on the line, I was just going to ask him, could he tell us what this was?
Sorry, council member, I've been distracted by a 3-year-old. Can someone tell me which bill we are?
The last one on the agenda, 2023-92. It's authorizes the acquisition of an interest in 2 parcels of property and then granting them an easement in those parcels in connection with the development of a project in downtown Nashville.
Yeah, I believe this is more or less easement update to enable.
Mr. Cooper, can you help us out there? Mr. O'Connell's breaking up a little bit.
So you're just looking for an explanation of what this does?
Yeah, that's it. I just have the summary of it in front of me. I don't have the entire bill, and I can't get a hold of it. And I was just curious what it was.
Sure. So this is a transaction for a hotel project in District 19. And we've done this in the past. It's essentially we're accepting a quitclaim deed for the property underneath an alley. And then we are in turn leasing that, or not leasing, but we're granting air rights easement and a construction easement to the developer to build the hotel and a portion of it over the alley. And for that transaction, they are making a payment of $30,000 as consideration.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me at this point?
Yes.
I did also want to give the committee assurances. There is potentially an impact on an adjacent property owner, and I've been working with Public Works to mitigate that. So this is a procedural issue, but it does have real world impact, and we're trying to mitigate that with the department and with area property owners.
Thanks, Councilmember. Anything else, Councilmember Roten?
No, Mr. Chair, that was kind of what I was getting at. I didn't know if this was the same one that Councilmember O'Connell and I had discussed at the previous meeting, so I was just trying to find out about that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, we're on BL 2023-92. It's been moved and seconded. I'm not seeing any further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say no. Hearing none, we recommend approval. And I believe that's all the business of the committee. Thank you, everybody. And I will hand it to Councilmember Henderson for her committee meeting.